The September 3rd daily stock report after the market. Let's review some of the stocks that we've been talking about. Here's the bull short, MITI. I've talked about this over 2 weeks. The stock hit a high of $7.84 here 2 weeks ago, or last week, and hit a low of $5 or $4.99 today, which was my target price somewhere in the low fives. I covered that stock an average price around $5.30, $5.33. The profit potential there between the high and low is 56%, I believe. Yeah, let me check that. The profit potential between this high of $7.84 and low of $4.99 is over 56%. And of course, you usually don't get most. You only get part of that, maybe half at the most, which I got around 20 to 22%. Let's take a look at some other bull shorts that I have. STSI, shorted that stock today. This one looks a little dangerous, like it could continue to go up. The stock dropped as low as $3.45, rebounded to $3.75 at the close, and that typically a strong close like this on a low price stock could mean that it could move up. Let's take a look at a 2-year chart on this stock. A little over 2 years ago, this stock was at that price around $4. I'm hoping, of course, that this will drop without having to run up because I shorted the stock. Looking for this target price of under $3 to cover. We'll keep an eye on that, how that works. CRD.B, Crawford Company, Class B shares. Let's open this up a little. I did not see this stock when it hit over 16 earlier in August, dropped down to about $9, $9.25. I saw it rebound up here to $15, and I shorted this a few days ago at an average price of $14.84. Target price to cover is about $12, maybe a little bit lower. Looks like it's just going to take a little bit of time, probably another week or so to get there. BDSI shorted this yesterday and covered yesterday, reshorted the stock again today. I'm looking for about 3.25, and that'll be a nice little profit. Here's a follow through of SOLF. I think I talked about this over a week ago. I tried to short this stock over $20. Could not find the shares to borrow to short. The stock made a real nice drop from $20 to $14. That's about 43% profit potential on that. The bull shorts have worked really well, and I think they'll still continue to work well in this environment where there's enough fear and speculation, and I call that a Goldilocks, just right environment to use this technique. Let's review some other stocks, the agricultural chemical stocks. Let's take a look at Monsanto. Again, we see the lower lows, lower highs. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the right scale for you guys to look at. Here's Mosaic. Here's that pattern, lower lows, goes up to a lower high than this previous high, and then a lower low to that previous low, and goes on down and down. Now eventually, I think these stocks are coming to a point where you can get a resistance. I think as far as Mosaic goes, that price is probably somewhere around $70, so we could have a ways to go before we get some support. I think Mosaic is going to be around $70 before it's safe to jump in the water. Let's take a look at Monsanto again. I think we could easily start getting some support around $100, maybe a little bit lower, so we'll keep an eye on that one to give you an alert for potential purchase. Here's Agrium. It's another agricultural chemical stock. This one could easily go in the mid-60s before we start running up or starting heading up, so I'll put an alert on this one. Here's Potash is the next stock. The dangerous situation here today is we got a lower low from that previous low, so this is not done going down, and I'm just keeping an eye on this one. This looks a lot like there's more downside to it. Let's take a look at some coal stocks, which is energy related, and yet it is related to the commodities. This could have support somewhere around here, $35, $36. Let's take a look at Foundation Coal. This one could drop down here around low 40s before you start considering purchasing this as a long position. Here's JRCC, which is James River Coal. This is in the same sector. Looks a little bit stronger than the other two. And one more coal stock is MEE. Not sure if this is done going down yet, but again, the same category. Take a look at it. Here's a stock to alert you as a potential short stock. It's a real sharp break below this uptrend here. Started back here in April at around $17, $18. Just came up to about 46 here a few days ago, and now we're at $40. You know, you really don't have to know the reason or the news that drops it down, except to watch these charts show what people are buying and what they're selling. And all these indicators, if you read about these indicators, are really measuring the amount of buying and selling pressure through a given period of time. So this is an interesting possibility as a short, is the way I see it. So if I look at this from a distance, you can look at this chart and say, wow, this could easily drop another $5 or $6, bounce back up. This is going to be a trading type of stock that you can trade on a swing trade. Let's take a look at a different style of charts. Let's look at a large cap stock, American Express. Here's a 5-day moving average starting to turn up pretty fast there. That's a good looking chart. That could be a possible long purchase according to the chart, which occurred, the crossover occurred a few days ago at a 37.92. You can see that on the right, highlighted in white. Let's take a look at another stock similar to that, is Walmart. Real steady. I think they have about a 1.6% dividend. This has not really been a fast-moving stock. It's got billions of shares in the company's stock that's issued in the float, so it doesn't really move too fast. The theory is that economic recessions or hard times, people go to these discounted price stocks. Let's take a look at Target now that we're talking about that. Ooh, that's really strongly up. I think we talked about that on a previous video clip. Really good looking. That could be sustainable. It's a pretty steep rise, so you start watching out for that kind of stock chart to turn flat and turn down. A couple of these energy stocks, GMXR, even CVX, same pattern. I'm starting to feel like we probably might have seen the bottom there early August, but I think there's a purchase in here somewhere fairly soon. Yeah, I'm looking at this ConocoPhillips. I haven't looked at ExxonMobil. Yeah, this looks like this could be a bottom that we saw, and I'm just going to watch these to see if we did really get a bottom. Now, the last thing I do at night before I go to bed and I look at these charts, I do look at the indexes like the Dow Jones. I'm looking here, my first glance is going flat, not doing too much. Probably this starts moving up, and it is below that channel that we were in. I just like to get a mental picture of that. Doesn't tell me much tonight looking at that stock. Looking at that index. Here's the NASDAQ Composite. Also a little on the negative side, more so than the Dow, but it had a little bit more to drop, as I've said a couple weeks ago. You all have a good day tomorrow, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night.